I have these friends, Dan and Sheila. They're podcast hosts.
Welcome to Profiling Criminal Minds. I'm Dan.
And I'm Dr. Redmond.
And, well, we are just hitting that gas pedal right towards the end of the season, aren't we?
Yeah, no, I thought this was a really good episode. And given how stressed I am, I'm still able to say this was a really good episode. God. And it does do exactly what it needs to do to take us to the final episode.
It does.
Next week.
It's crazy.
I was just thinking about sort of all of the stuff that we were talking about last week, right?
Yeah, right.
And how everything, it almost reinforces some of the stuff we said last week.
I think so.
Yeah. With all of the different levels that we're getting here, and we're finally sort of finding out what's going on.
Oh,
we've got a secondary villain who is
absolute
as evil.
Monster. Yeah.
Is yes.
There's no easy way to broach this. So apparently people on the writing staff don't like that Tim Ballard fellow very much. Apparently they got a real problem with that Sound of Freedom movie. Oh my God.
Well,
it's not the most direct attack they've ever done, but it's a pretty direct attack. Oh,
well, they called it Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going.
Tim Ballard by the way of Eric Prince. I mean, he's even called Frank Church.
Yeah.
So it was funny. I was watching it and it bothered me. Like, why do I recognize this guy? What have I seen this guy in? So I looked it up. And, okay, you know the Brendan Fraser movie, The Mummy?
Yes,
beloved Mummy movie? How in addition to him, right, him and Jonathan and Evie, who were looking for the mummy, there were 3 American adventurers.
Right.
And they're the guys who get killed by the mummy and have their organs stolen. He was one of those guys in the Mummy.
Ta-da.
Yeah, I had no idea. But yeah, he was one of the guys from the Mummy. So there you go. That's why
I did look up.
I recognized him.
Yeah, I looked up on IMDb and I'm going, well, I think he's aged well.
Oh, absolutely.
But he is not recognizable if you look at how he looked 20 years ago.
25 years ago.
And 25 years ago.
Yeah.
That's why you're going, oh, is that?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at him and going, seen him, and he's been in so many things, right? And so he's one of those constantly working actors that
who we've seen in plenty of stuff. But for me, the Mummy's always going to be the first thing I recognize for, because I love the Mummy and I've seen it a ton of times.
Yeah.
So we pick up pretty much exactly where the last episode left off. Jade is on the run. She gets spotted. She gets spotted by the cops because she's driving, let's face it, erratically and too fast because she's emotionally distraught. Who could blame her? And
well, except it seems like she was doing it on purpose.
I don't know that she was. I don't know that she was trying to draw attention. Because let's face it, if someone had miraculously come up to save her, she pretty much would have been done. Like, there was no way out of that situation if Dana hadn't been looking for her.
Yeah, well, that's not clear whether Dana was waiting for her or was looking for her.
That is a question. Yeah.
And that's a question. Now, and I'm not sure it's completely clear because later on in the episode, it seems more like she was looking for Jade, but she would have had to have had some idea where Jade was.
Well, I think they've been in touch. Like, they don't know where Peter is, who's the last member of the original Gold Star 5. But I think they were in touch with her. Because, and this is something we're going to have to hopefully see next week, is, like, who was feeding information to Paul F. Tompkins? That's what I want to know. Somebody's been feeding information to Paul F. Tompkins, and maybe it was Church. But, like, there's still a big question mark for where exactly. And I mean, Church mentions Paul F. Tompkins and that he knows about him. So I think that's where it's going, but I'd like to find out some details of why Church would be attracting the attention of the attracting the attention of the BAU. And I want details about who made that bunker, but then again, we're going to talk about that bunker when we get there. Oh my God, the bunker. The important part is they gouge out the eyes of a cop and send a message.
Yes, because they leave him alive.
Yeah, specifically to send a message. And I'm like,
to the BAU.
Yeah, to the BAU to leave her alone and let her disappear, or she's gonna, start killing cops all over the place. Which, yikes.
She's coming for them.
Remember, it's kind of funny when you say something about one episode and then the next episode, the exact thing you say was referenced. How I said, I feel like Penelope should announce that she's going to go find out where, who was paying for the whole Stewart House thing now that they have the names and identities of, all of the people who worked on the project.
Mm-hmm.
And then that did happen.
Oh, yes. She found the money trail. She finds...
Although, I've got to say, it's kind of funny where it's she says it like it's an elaborate algorithm that she has to do, but it's you don't have to do anything fancy here. You literally just have to access bank records, and all you've done is automate the process.
Tut.
I'm just saying, it's not anything fancy.
I prefer our wizard.
I know.
I prefer it that she is Merlin.
She and Luke are so much fun together. Oh my God, just Luke standing there unbelievably frustrated. Just waiting, just standing there watching the pot boil.
Yes, this assumption that somehow or another...
if he just stands there and asks her over and over again, it'll get there faster.
Yes.
It'll be done when it's done, Luke.
Luke, you're just like everybody else about computers. You think everything is instantaneous, and it's not, as we have learned over the last week.
Oh, yeah, well,
since the last episode. But anyway.
Yeah, that was a weird weekend when right after Criminal Minds, all of the computers on Earth went down.
Yeah, well, I'm still, as we know, I'm taking a flight later tonight. It's really late tonight. I understand why you're nervous. Yeah. And I'm sort of still sitting here going, okay, okay. Because
I'm sure it's fine.
I'm sure it will be, because Canada wasn't massively affected, but our university was affected. But it turns out, I was reading somewhere along the line that for some places it was going to have to be computer by computer.
They were going to, I saw that.
I saw that do list. A global thing.
Yeah, where it literally said, go into your computer's settings and, load up your computer in safe mode and go to this setting and change this file. And I'm like, you think people can do that? Do you think people can operate computers?
Like that? I'm sitting there and saying, thank God I generally speaking, leave my computer in sleep mode overnight.
So you missed out on whatever toxic update it was.
Yes, because as I said, at the university, some people were fine, other people weren't.
Oof.
And
but anyway,
usually,
that's
yes,
computers.
but that's by the by.
Neither here nor there.
We want to get through this.
It was very dramatic.
It was very dramatic last week.
Yeah. So they found out who put all the money together, and yes, it's a mercenary organization run by an Eric Prince type.
Yes.
And so the question is, why would he do this? And what has he been doing with this program?
And how has he been doing it? Because it was answered by the end, but as I'm going along.
Yeah.
Okay. How did this work with Stewart House?
Mm-hmm.
Because by the time they get to home, as both Dana and Jade call it, they just want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Jade says, I just want to go home. And I'm going, how? And then when we see home, I'm going, how? Because he's running Stewart House. We actually get the map with all of the other places where there were all of these other Stewart houses.
Mm-hmm. All the other places that they've been running operations. Yeah, it's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, no kidding. And I'm going, so how did he show? It turns out that, they until they go home, they all think that they've been saved by this man from these horrible places.
Yeah, this monstrous cadre of murderous pedophiles who abused them at Stewart House, and they ran this program to enslave children through these charities that were supposedly trying to help them. And I mean, oof. And it was really, he was running this place to identify the absolute, most viable victims who he could turn into psychopaths who would kill people for him. And all he had to do was extra abuse them and then create a fake other group that was in charge of the abuse of them so that he could unleash them against people who were connected to it. Honestly, it's not a bad plan. Is it convoluted? Sure.
I was just going to say...
But it was written by some academics. But it does track. It does follow together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You don't hear me complaining about it. It's just, it was as I'm going along. And I'm glad. I mean, it
we
made
needed
this episode
it to hold together. We needed it to hold together, and it is holding together.
And this episode is very much the setting up for the finale.
Oh, absolutely.
We already have our hint that Voight's going to escape.
Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute, right?
Yeah.
Because this is motivation that we're going to talk about, and there's this big name hanging over the whole thing, a character we haven't met yet. Well, there's two big characters we haven't met yet, but we may never meet the other one. But the thing that got me is, first we're going to talk about what they find in Voight's bunker. Oh my God, the surveillance wall. Oh, I love it.
They have a massive...
I'm going to have to make a video explaining all the references on this surveillance wall, aren't I?
At some point, yes.
I'm probably going to have to go and freeze
frame. After you come back from your vacation in the middle of August. Right?
Yeah, that's what I'll do, right? I'll make a little video. I'll find the highest resolution of this that I can possibly get and then make a video explaining who all these people are in case you didn't know. But yes, it was great. I loved all of that. I thought it was fantastic, laying out all of these characters, all these little hints to the back, stuff about their routine for stalking them. It made me so happy. Yeah, I really like that. No, I like that a lot. Now, what doesn't go explained, though, in the episode is how the local cops found that bunker. Now, I guess it's 8 hours later, and they had a helicopter and some kind of a ground penetrating radar. I don't know, but it's like, you mean how the BAU? Yeah, how the BAU finds the bunker. That's not explained.
No, of course it's not explained, and maybe the girls left it open.
Yeah, maybe
and that would have been.
No, I would, because
it's not that far off the road.
No, it isn't, and I assume what they did was because they activated the booby trap on the way out.
Yeah.
Right. And so I assume what they did is they just left the flap open or tore all of the fake plants off of the top. Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, so we're literally just cops just driving down every side road.
Well, they had, I would have, like, I'm trying to think about it, right? Because they do find where, oh, wait a minute. No, I know how they find it.
Yeah.
Wait a sec, you missed it. You just forgot. No, what happens is that they have to figure out where she's going to go.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know, but they decide they go back to last year.
Yeah. And
when they had they had the list of all of the places where boxes and things were
found. Yeah.
And so then they find, because one of them is red.
I did not forget this. Here's what happens. So here's exactly what happens in the scene. So they find when they leave Jade's car, they leave Jade's car and they go in Dana's car. And yes. Jade leaves in her car the empty case she got from Voight's lawyer, right?
Yeah.
And then they drive to where the bunker is, right?
Yes.
And they change that car out for another car. And when they find where that car was taken, David says, let's look at a map of where all the cases were.
Yes.
Right? And so one of the cases was in Rockville, Maryland, which was close by to where the car was dumped. And then but the link from there, one of the cases was in Rockville, Maryland, and the car being parked in the next town over, that doesn't get you to somewhere in the 200 miles of road linking those two cities. There is a bunker. Go find it. Like,
well, and it has to be, it's not on a main road. It's on an off road.
No, it's on a side road, but that's the 200 miles of side road I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I see what you mean, but we're going to give them that one.
No, we're giving them, well, no, because they would have eventually found it. It's just, and they don't actually tell us how long it takes. So I think we just have to assume it's fine. And then in like the most bleak drive-by thing to ever happen on the show. So first, like 2 cops got blown up by a booby trap because they wouldn't listen to the BAU because the cops were so excited to get a chance to murder these people who had blinded another cop, right? They thought maybe they're down in the bunker and we'll get a chance to kill them. That 2 more of them got killed. Like that was just a rough thing to just drop into the middle of the episode and then move right on. Because they're specifically establishing that the cops, and by the way, like this isn't a show that gets anti-cop very much, but like all of the BAU is literally like, oh, they blinded this man. The cops are going to go hog wild and try to murder the 2 of them.
Yeah.
And then the cops do, and it gets them killed. They're like, oh, wow, that is not a way I normally see cops presented on the show Criminal Minds.
Well, yeah, but this is such a... it's raising the stakes.
It is absolutely.
That's all I can say. It's raising the stakes because we spend a lot more time with everybody else, and this episode
is devoted to Jade and Jade's story.
Yes.
Like we have been waiting for Jade's full story this whole time, and that's what this episode is about. Like everybody else's scenes, we're just racing through to get back to Jade.
Yes.
And what's going on with her? Oh my God. So yeah, the 2 of them don't know. So they get to the base, right? The home base. And the 2 of them don't know how to find Peter, or at least, if Jade does know how to find Peter, she certainly hasn't shared it with Dana, right?
No.
So we don't 100% know whether she knows how to find Peter or not. But
and we don't know who Peter is.
Well, he's number 5. He's GS5.
Yes, I know.
But yeah, that's
and
all.
We've only seen
a
picture of him on the wall.
Oh no, they don't even have a picture of him. Nope.
Oh no,
they only have 3 pictures. They have pictures of the guy they killed down in Utah. They have pictures of Jade and Damien. Yeah, they don't know who Dana and Peter are at all. Right? They just they have searched through Jill searching through the files has come up with nothing, and that's really interesting.
And they can come up with Dana now because they haven't. Well, I don't know. I don't even know. They don't even know that.
But they've got a physical description of her now that's going to help them find Dana.
Yes.
Right? The cop, although he is blind,
she's dead.
Yeah, but they can still find out who she was.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to find her. Well, that's what I was getting to. I was not prepared for him immediately executing Dana.
No, and I'm not totally sure why he executed Dana.
Well, he's rolling up the Gold Star program because she still has some questions, as she says to him. Like, so obviously she thinks something shady's going on. And she's the one who said to Jade that like literally the 3 of us are the only people we can trust. You, me, and Peter are the only people left that we can trust. And, the boss, Church, was not on her list of the people they can trust. So we don't know. And that is the big thing here, right? The one thing we don't have an answer to, and this is a fairly big thing that I think we're going to need an explanation for next week, is at what point did he decide he had to kill the Gold Star people? Like, what was the inciting incident? And I think it's that Damien and Jade decided to start going around and murdering everybody who had worked at Stewart House. I think that was the trigger for him thinking he had to get rid of them. But the question is, what triggered them to start killing everybody at Stewart House? Like, why they had obviously been, Damien had obviously been doing stuff for the government. Well, not the government, for the mercenaries who work for the government, right? He had obviously been killing people for them. And so what was his, like, the instigating thing that made him go and say, I've got to go kill everybody who worked at Stewart House? And then he got halfway through the list, and then the hit team got sent to go and kill him and the other Gold Star people. But the question is, like, what was that trigger?
Okay, yeah, because okay, let me think this one through. Okay, so what's happening is that he's happily doing things, although we already discussed last week how, you know, Felicity was able to get to him
by by
talking about his foster father. So somewhere along the line, his dreams. But what we see in this episode is a few of the flashbacks from Jade talking with him and
their suspicion of
Church. Frank, of Church. And they've been going out and doing this on their own.
Exactly.
And that probably because Dana had been sent to find them.
Yes.
And so because Frank Church doesn't know where they are, and because they've gone off on their own, they are not just fleeing. Well, they're not fleeing from the BAU initially because that nobody knows they're there.
Exactly. No one knows they exist.
They exist. So they have been going out. So as the doctors and everything are starting to be killed, the people from Stewart House are starting to be
as the people from Stewart House are mysteriously all dying in suicides and accidents.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, someone in Church's organization, and Church himself, sees the connection that no one else sees, knows they all worked on the Stewart House Gold Star program. Right.
And he can't find, and Damien and Jade have not checked in.
Exactly. So he realized, okay, they've gone rogue. I've got to get rid of them.
Yeah. And I've got to get rid of the first 5.
Exactly. But he thinks he can control them by just saying, and he in fact does control Jade to a certain extent by claiming that the people who were in charge of the child kidnapping and murder organization that ran Stewart House, right, are now sending people to kill you. So he has deceived them into thinking that or at least he thinks he has, that the assassins who came to get them, right, all of whom were killed by Damien, were not working for him, but were rather working for the conspirators who were responsible for Stewart House. Like, it's not explained super clearly, but it all tracks.
Yeah, no, it tracks. And the Stewart House thing, he is the one that saved them from Stewart House.
Exactly. That's how he has managed to sell himself. That he and his team, again, this is where the Operation Underground Rescue Tim Ballard comparisons are coming in. His team came in and rescued them, but he rescued them from a situation that he put them in.
Yes, he put them in, he rescued them, and sets them up in a new home.
Yep.
As they call it. This is the place everybody gets trained here. It is an interesting way they do this because I do like it. This slow Jade. It's strange. Jade's on her own. She's killed Damien, and then the new Jade.
Yep.
Right. The new
replacement Jade
is talking with her. Jade doesn't know this at this point. Neither do we. Exactly. Well, we've seen Dana get killed. So she's talking to the replacement Jade. And then we're going, and the replacement Jade starts talking about these nightmares she had, right? About being raped in the middle of the night, and that, it was Frank Church was responsible for it. And Jade kind of looks and says, yes, but they can put things into our mind. That's probably
what we were taught. It was part of the brainwashing.
It was part of the brainwashing. But she goes back.
And this conversation the flashback with
Damien, where Damien says, but are you sure?
Yep.
Yeah, Damien.
So she knew to a certain extent what she was walking into. What she had to know for her. On some level, she understood what she was walking into when she went back to whatever. Ada is what they call the Aida, or whatever they call it. The opera.
Aida.
Aida, thank you.
The opera.
Okay, which one is Aida? Which one is Aida?
Oh, I don't know. Okay. I'm trying to remember.
Is that the one? Is that the one about
in Egypt?
It is, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, then I do know.
That's the one that takes place in Egypt.
All right, thank you. I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if we both thought it was Egypt, then that's probably we're thinking of the right opera.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So yes.
So they call it Aida, but the thing is that when she wants to go home. I don't think she's suspicious, really.
Until
it's not
a
real.
You're
until her replacement
brings it up,
and
it reminds her of that conversation she had with Damien.
Which also indicates that Damien, long before, was already having.
Well, and it makes his suicide and his collapse make all the more sense.
Yeah, and
it means that like Jill actually had more. Right. She had more ammunition than she realized because he was already having these doubts.
Yes. And I think that because she was right about the foster father, it also goes back to, as I said, the Alice Miller 10 points. And one of them is if a child has one person that is good to them and they can trust during this childhood, these horribly abusive childhoods, the chances are they will not turn into these monsters.
Yeah, and that got taken away from him by Stewart House, and they made him kill the guy.
But it was still there, and they couldn't wipe it out completely, and that must have been somewhere a trigger for him, but they all wanted away. Yeah. And we had assumed that they were running away from Stewart House. It turns out what they were running away from was normal, like this home, this thing, Frank Church's new organization, right? That is training them, and it is interesting. It works. Jade, and then and then he takes Jade and ties her down. I mean, we see
before we get there though. I know, just yikes. Not super psyched to be seeing assaults here on the show, but.
Well, we don't really see it.
But it's implicit.
It's implicit. It's completely implicit. You know what's happening. And Jade is. But
she goes to follow the new her who's been drugged and dragged away in her sleep, which apparently happens regularly. Because, of course, these guys who are pretending to be saving children are monstrous pedophiles themselves. That's not a shock.
No, we're not shocked here.
That's not shocking at all. Right? So you've got that going on. And so she gets kidnapped and she gets put in there. Meanwhile, we find out that the director of the FBI, we get an answer to what was going on with Bailey. Now, we don't get a full explanation, but as we're told, Bailey essentially found out about the Gold Star program, right? And that the reason he had to play along with it is because Church has been holding it as a threat over the over the FBI's head, that if anything comes out, right, that if anyone tries to move against him, he can release that the FBI generated this program for creating serial killers. And they did. And the funny part is there's a moment where they're like, he'll try and destroy the FBI or the BAU, right? He'll essentially accuse us of doing this thing. And I'm like, well, you did do it though.
Yeah.
You actually did do it.
It turned out it was Jill who.
But Jill, who was your contractor at the time, certainly did. Like, she was getting paid by you to contract to write up this file. And then when you shut down the program, she did it anyway. But it was still ultimately you guys who were responsible for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bad, they really do have them in a bind. And God, no wonder Lee thinks he can get away with it. So let's briefly go into the Lee scene, because of course David's very pissed off that they just had a target put on their back by Sicarius. That Jade and Dana, have seen all of the research and then set up the bomb and killed 2 more cops. Oh yeah, we never said that the message she sent was that if you, oh no, wait, did we?
Yes,
the message she sent to them, you're right, was that she's just going to kill a whole lot of cops, which, yikes.
And them. She's coming after
and them. But yeah, she says the streets will run red with blue blood. And I'm like, Jesus, okay. But I really enjoyed like the escalation. Well,
she never had someone who was nice to her in her childhood.
No, she didn't. Like, look at her dad. And I mean, maybe her mother was okay, but the dad murdered the mother, so there you go.
Yep.
She never had someone like Damien did. There's and so what happens is, and this is the part I really enjoyed, again, every Voight scene is just dynamite this year.
Yeah.
They're using him so well, and it's sparingly. Because there is a degree to which he was the co-lead of the show last year.
Yes.
Right? He had so many of his own scenes, and his journey was, mapped out so thoroughly. Right? So it's great to see them still knowing how to use him, even though he's in a supporting role now.
Yeah. And that's he's in prison.
Yeah. But here's the part I didn't understand.
Okay.
David is 100% certain that Elias is going to want to escape from prison. To which I say, why would he? He got away with it. Like, no one thinks he's Sicarius. He's not going to be charged with all of his crimes. All he has to do is stay in jail for as he says, I'll be out for the 7 years. And as he says, I'll be out in 5.
Yeah.
Right? All he
for
has to
good
do,
behavior.
He's literally free and clear. And David comes in and tries to say, you're going to get murdered in prison. It's like, he's going to minimum security prison with people committed for who commit fraud.
And and they're putting him in as Lee Duval.
Exactly. But irrespective of that,
yeah.
Do you think a bunch of guys who, right?
Are white collar criminals?
Are going to be like, oh, I better go shiv this serial killer so I have cred in Gen Pop. Of course they're not going to do that.
I know.
It's minimum security prison. There's a golf course. Okay, there's probably not a golf course, but like it's going to be like a farm prison. There's nobody getting, shanked in the showers there. No, but but again, David, he is a mess, and he's been a mess all season. Like, it doesn't help that he and Jill actually kissed this time. None of this is helping his mental state. But he's literally trying to play every card he can, where he's like, oh, you're going to be brutalized in prison. He's like, in the prison I'm going to? I don't think so.
No.
Yes, Sicarius has his number and has had his number all season.
Yes, and the question is whether he will have it in the last episode.
Still, well, no, I'm sure they're going to come up with something. I'm sure they're going to come up with something. The question is, how are they going to write it? So, because this is the hardest thing to write. Right. And this is why I always joke about, the terrible way writers have to have villains reveal a piece of information. Right. In order that only the killer knew, in like the most awkward way, because they've written a plot where the killer had such a good plan and alibi that the only way for them to get caught is for them to just announce that they're the killer and make a mistake. For me, the definitive one, there's this episode of Murder, She Wrote where a woman killed her stepson, and I don't remember why. And then completely out of nowhere, while talking about the crime, she's just like, who would be so brutal as to shoot him 3 times on the side of the road? And then, of course, Jessica's like, how did you know he was shot 3 times? It wasn't in any of the police reports.
There you go.
You didn't see the autopsy? And it's like, yeah, but why would a character just out of nowhere say that? They would only ever say it to do it. And that's, the one thing we can't have Sicarius
Well, we can't have that in Criminal Minds.
Because the
character
character they
have
have built. Oh, of course. Because the character they
Murder,
have built.
She Wrote is fine.
Oh, yeah, it's fine in Murder, She Wrote.
What do we care?
It's not a particularly well-written mystery.
As
I've always said, there's only ever been one great episode of Murder, She Wrote. And honestly, we'll probably do an episode of this about it because it's that good of an episode. In the history of Murder, She Wrote, there was only ever one great hour of television. And the crazy part is, it's legitimately a great hour of television. Because I was rewatching all of Murder, She Wrote a couple of years ago. And it's like, hey, it's a fun, cozy mystery. You're having a good time. You're watching it. And then you get to this one episode and you're like, well, first off, John Glover's there.
Yes.
So it's like, yay. But, and this is my tease for when we cover this episode of television. So, you know how Murder, She Wrote, got brought back actors all the time.
Yep.
To play new parts. So John Glover had been in like season 2 or 3 playing a Russian who wants to defect, blah, 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 blah. And so they brought him back because it's John Glover. Why would you not bring him back? He's a fantastic actor. And so they bring him back for this episode, and then he is never on the show again. And he is the lead on the best episode they ever did. And my theory is, and there's no way to confirm this, that I think she found this episode so troubling that she's just like, we're never doing an episode like that again. And like, it cost John Glover, like, being the star of this unbelievably troubling episode of Murder, She Wrote, like, meant it so it cost John Glover the chance to ever be on the show again, because she associated it with that episode and the traumatic experience of making that episode. But anyway, I'm really selling this episode hard. You think I'm overselling it, but the crazy it is, I'm not overselling it. It really is the best episode of Murder, She Wrote. So yeah, that's what I'm worried about next week, because I know they have to find some way to prove that he's Sicarius, but the character has done such an incredible job of closing every avenue of making that happen that I don't know how they do it. So I am so eager to be surprised.
Yeah, well, the question is whether or not they will.
You're right. He might just be in jail next year. Or
because remember, he's got access to the internet again.
He does.
Once he's in minimum security.
So that's a real problem. God, oh my God, I just realized you're right. What if he keeps running his organization from jail? And they have that hanging over their heads. That would be...
he's managing to somehow...
Through his lawyer. Yeah.
Through his lawyer run it. So why not?
You're right. I hadn't thought about it, but they might not. All season I've just been assuming they're going to get him, but I hadn't thought about it. You're right. They might not. Because, he's back. I'm sure he might be back next year.
Yeah,
I'm sure the actor's having a great time. Don't check it out. I hate spoilers.
No.
But yeah, like, you're right. He could just be back next year. Oh my God. I hadn't even thought about that. Well, I mean, we didn't get any follow-up on the hack of the witness relocation program.
Yeah.
We didn't get any follow-up on that story this week either. So yeah, it's entirely possible. Damn.
Yeah.
All right. Now I'm thinking about this stuff.
No, don't start thinking about season 18. We're not finished season 17 yet.
You're right. We still have a week for them to wrap all of this if they want to. All right, so let's get to the important stuff, which is they get a warrant to go, just as Jade is dealing with being assaulted by Church again. They get a warrant to go and bust down the door of Church's place. And of course, this being a group of mercenaries, they are not psyched about letting the law come in and see the place. And as Tyler says, these are the kind of guys who might just start a gunfight with the United States government. Like, they could end up with, as they call out, a Waco type of situation.
Yeah. And Dave's already been at Waco, so he's not ready. He's not ready and willing to do that ever again.
Not only has he been a Waco, they also had their own Waco with Luke Perry, whose followers then went on to kill 300 other people.
Oh, God.
In one of the worst storylines the show ever did.
Yes, well,
I know, but it's just, hey, the show loves continuity now, so we love continuity too.
Well, we always loved continuity. We just didn't get it before.
I know, we just didn't get it. The show has caught up with our love of continuity. So yeah,
all those little loose ends. The more you can actually tie those up, the better we like it.
We are absolutely. So Jade springs new Jade, right, and tells her to run off. That everything she said about Frank was correct, and she's got to run off. And Jade gives her one of a set of walkie-talkies and tells her she'll meet her south of the compound. And then Jade has already killed a couple of guards at this point, and her plan is to just set bombs everywhere.
And the nice thing is we watch her, unlike in Shooter.
I know. We actually see all this stuff
happen. See her set it up, setting the bombs and putting them in place. And and you just see, and you know that she's suicidal. You know that she wants to go.
Well, and this is the part I really loved, right? Which is this moment that she has where, like, earlier in the episode, Jill mentioned there being a suicide pact, and then she corrects herself, right?
Yes.
And says, no, it's more like George and Lenny, you killed her. But it's like, no, it was a suicide pact.
Yeah.
They weren't going to live without each other. She read that wrong. But of course she read that wrong. She didn't know Jade.
That's exactly
like, she had never met Jade. She only met Damien. But it's like, no, like, neither of them was functional alone. They needed each other to make this stuff work. And it was a suicide pact. Neither of them was going to let the other one go to jail. But once they were alone, they weren't going to be able to function. So she just got this one last thing to do.
Well, and once she realizes that Frank Church, like, she doesn't have to realize the entire enormity of the problem. She doesn't have to know that Frank Church actually ran Stewart House. She doesn't have to know any of that.
Nope.
The fact is that he raped her as well.
Yeah, and the fact that it's a frying pan fire situation, that even if, like, Stewart House is completely unrelated, she got quote-unquote rescued by another group of monstrous rapists. Like, for the love of God, he's taking her through the thing, and there's the exact same padded cells they were kept in Stewart House. And he's like, oh, yes, well, the reason for that is we took this facility from the evil organization, and now we're using it. Not a good cover, Frank.
No, not a good cover, but he doesn't care about cover because he's planning on killing her anyway.
Yeah, and he's planning on killing her anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
So as I said, the Jade replacement just gets her to run, and she says, just keep running. Yeah. You get the other guys and you just keep running, or the other people, because it's hard to know. We don't know. We've only met.
Yeah, but there are other kids there, obviously.
Yes, and she said, and just keep running and hide and get away as far away as you can.
And the horrifying final line she gets before blowing herself in the facility up is, save the children.
Yeah, save the children. Oh. And the one thing we don't know, that makes this, because it doesn't blow up.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't, it's just like it's set, it's going to go. And of course the BAU has been allowed to come in because Frank has no idea, because he doesn't know that Jade is missing.
No, he sent guards to, like, hide her away and get rid of her, and then he's like, we'll be fine letting the BAU search the place once we've dealt with Jade.
Yeah. And so he says, yeah, you can let them in.
But Emily,
we don't know how far.
We
don't know how far they've come in.
Made it. Absolutely, when she decides to press the button.
Yeah.
But God, what an ending.
Yeah. Yeah. No, God. it really is an ending.
It is.
Take us to that last episode. Holy shit.
But, like, we're in this weird place where it's like, how often, like, we got to the end of last season, we kind of had a sense where everything was going at the end. They were going to rescue Dave. Right? They were going to track down Sicarius. I mean, I was surprised that Bailey got shot, but that's basically the only surprise we had.
Yeah.
But this season, and this is the crazy part, this episode is all table setting for the final episode, but at the same time, based on the events of this episode, I have no idea what the last episode is going to look like.
No, I don't. I mean...
And that's rare.
Yeah, because, I mean... if you want my one sort of quibble,
please,
is that I'm going, guys, can't you take responsibility? There's Jill trying to take responsibility for what she did. Mm-hmm. She's finally starting, and there's Dave. No, it's not your fault.
It absolutely is her fault. It's 100% her fault.
And she's the first time I've really seen somebody say, it's my fault. I am responsible for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those complaints that we've always...
No. I mean, Emily almost got there with the heart in a box killer's son. She almost got there. But everyone else is always like, as David is in this episode, no, it's not your fault. You can't blame yourself. 100% you can blame yourself.
She can, because she was too blinkered and too academic. She never followed up. She knew that something was going to go wrong. She had to in part of her, and she just avoided dealing with it.
Yeah, because for her, it was always just an academic exercise.
Yeah. And
as we talked about last week. And this is why we love the character of Jill so much, because like you said, it's so rare to see a character on this show take responsibility for their actions.
Yeah, and she is just, working it. We don't see a lot of it. It doesn't matter. I wonder if she'll be back next year.
I'd be very interested to see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, I mean, I really cannot guess how they're going to resolve
everything, or as much as they can,
or what they're going to what they are going to resolve and what's going to leave us, because they already know they've got a season 18. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's stuff they can leave hanging. And my question is, now they didn't get renewed until like very close to it airing, so it's not like they could shoot a bunch of new scenes.
No.
But I'm honestly going to wonder, did they have, a different
an inkling?
An inkling that they were coming back, and can we expect a cliffhanger at the end of this season the way we had a cliffhanger at the end of last season?
Well, we just might. I mean, because what I would think is that there had to be at least rumblings.
Yeah, that they had a good sense.
That they had a good sense that there would be a season 18.
I'm certainly hoping
I would assume the numbers are good enough, and they've got to be even better. Yeah. Like I know a lot of people who aren't yet watching it, and I keep telling them, you gotta watch it simply because you have to hear our shout out in
episode 9,
16, episode 9. Come on, guys. Come on.
We're gonna shout out. You gotta watch it. Be supportive.
Yes, and I don't know. I mean, this happened later on, so I don't think we wouldn't have discussed it between 16 and 17. But one of my students says, "Oh yeah, I watched it. I heard." It's just like,
that's so adorable.
It's adorable.
We're very proud.
Yes.
But the thing is, and this is the question we're left with. And so, like I said, I have no idea what next week is going to look like. Like, the only thing I am sure of next week, because, like, hey, Jade's dead.
Yeah.
We might not see
There
Peter.
is no way she is going to survive the blow up.
No, there's no way she's going to survive.
Unless none of the bombs work.
Unless none of the bombs went off,
Yeah, there's always that possibility.
I mean, you're right. They could get out of it. Like the end of season 1 of the never continued MI5 kids.
Oh, the nuclear bomb. That was
where it looked like a nuclear bomb was going to go off, and then they faded to white, and they're like, wait, so did the bomb go off or not? You're never going to know, because there was no season 2 of MI5 Kids.
Yeah, they didn't renew it, right? So we never knew if the nuclear bomb destroyed England.
No, just London.
Well, that would have destroyed England.
Well, yes, it would destroy England. Yeah. MI5 Kids. What a weird...
It was such a
weird show.
Although, excuse me, this is Criminal Minds Kids.
Oh, no. The Criminal Minds aren't the kids aren't the operatives on Criminal Minds.
They're not the operatives. These were teenagers, or in their early 20s, late
teens. Yeah.
In the other one where a nuclear bomb, because it was going to be Expo, and
no, it was at the London Olympics.
Oh, it was the Olympics, not the Expo. It was the Olympics.
2 years later, after the Olympics, there had been a bomb that went off, and now so all of the security services were killed. So they had to recruit a bunch of teenagers to be the new MI6. It was not a good show.
No, it was terrible.
We watched it because we watched Spooks, but it was not a good show.
No.
But yes, so the point is, like, here's what I can guarantee is going to happen next week.
Okay.
They're going to get Frank Church. I don't know how.
Well, duh. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how. I don't know what the details are. They're going to get Frank Church. But it's like, I don't know that they're going to get Lee/Voight, right? I don't know that they're going to get Voight. I don't know that they're going to, we're going to find out what happened with Peter. I don't know that they're going to resolve who was leaking information to Paul F. Tompkins. I think it was Frank Church, but if it was, I'm not entirely sure why. I guess if I were to think it through, he would have been leaking Paul F. Tompkins to put more pressure on the FBI and remind them that he has this blackmail information on them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's got this blackmail information on the FBI, and by endangering the BAU through Paul F. Tompkins, right, he would have been adding extra pressure to the director of the FBI to remind him that, like, you've got to keep me out of this. That's my theory about the Paul F. Tompkins part of the story. But to be clear, we've got no follow-up on who Paul F. Tompkins was working with and who beat up Paul F. Tompkins. Like, we just don't know. I think it was Frank Church, and I think it was for that reason. But I'm not wrong to say that, like, we haven't got any confirmation of that, right?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay, not that you've noticed. All right, good.
Not that I've noticed at this point, but no, I would say not that I've noticed, because Frank Church almost comes out of the blue.
Oh, yeah, he does.
In this episode, it's just like, oh, so this is the evil guy.
Yeah.
It's been running the program.
But fundamentally, like, it's interesting because they've been so focused on talking about the kids, right? Mm-hmm. The Gold Star assassins, that they hadn't actually addressed the fact that, well, someone had to be a person had to make this decision. And we kept talking about, was the government doing it? But then we got told relatively early on that it was a private security firm. We just didn't have anything about it. So it's like the idea of Frank Church has been hovering around the edge all season. The second we found out that all 5 Gold Star victims from the first episode were paid assassins, the question of who was paying them has always been in the ether. So, yes. Yeah, I mean, to have him kind of thunder into the show, it is paying something off. It is absolutely paying something off. But you're right that he does kind of feel like he comes out of nowhere, because it's not like the characters through the past 6 episodes have constantly been saying, who's the money man? Who's been paying for this? Who started it? No, they've been working the day-to-day case. They haven't been looking at the big picture. So, I mean, I'm sure there are people for whom this will feel like it's coming completely out of the blue simply because they haven't been talking about the big picture a lot.
Yeah, but it was coming, and it doesn't feel wrong.
No, I don't think it does.
And he certainly feels as if he's extraordinarily secure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that because he is integrated into the government situation. Yeah. Because once they find everybody, no, not everybody, but at least people like Hatanaka, Tyler, people like Tyler, and even Luke said, yeah, I'd heard about them, this private mercenary company.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, I'll have to go back and look at I won't watch the opera again. I don't like opera, but I will go check out the story.
Yes, again, the story of what it is, to see how it ties in, or if it ties in.
Why Frank Church would have called his organization.
Why he would have named it after this. Yeah.
Maybe he's a fan of opera. What can I say?
Who can say, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
but yes.
So
yeah, a lot of table setting.
Yep.
I hate that we have to wait a week.
Oh, I hate that we have to wait. Well, we have to wait a week and a day because
I know, because
it's not going to go up, because I'm coming back on the 2nd.
I know. Oh, my
you know,
God.
I will arrive in Montreal at 2:00 on the 2nd,
and we're going to get it recorded and up ASAP. So you will hear from us on the Friday. By
Friday at midnight, maybe. I don't know.
We'll see.
No.
We'll see.
8 or 9 o'clock. Well, no.
Don't make any.
Yes, because my plane might not land.
Listen, this is off microphone conversation. We'll schedule it when we schedule it.
Okay. But don't expect it on Thursday. Let me put it that way. I'm still going to be.
Shush. They will get the episode on Friday. The end. That's all they need to know.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So on that topic, we will wrap this up, and I'll just sit here with bated breath for the next episode. For now, though, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have any theories for what the hell, how they're going to get Sicarius in this last episode of the season, let us know at profilingcriminalminds@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If you're listening on an app or podcatcher or watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. That's how people find out about the show. We're going to see you here back next week for the grand finale, where we see whether they pull off what has been, conservatively speaking, their best season ever.
Yep.
But
Please
until
don't disappoint Don't
disappoint us.
Please.
Don't drop off at the end. Don't play those who kill.
But
until then,
American. Yeah.
I will say that's right. Au revoir.
And I'm going to have a fun week.